Welcome back. First thing we want to do here is consider some examples now of graphing equations. Recall from the previous section that we were able to find points from an equation, and then we were able to actually plot those all on the same line. Well, now we're ready to take a look now at actually graphing lines. And so some of the earlier problems will give you a chart like this for our equation. We're instructed here to complete the table, then plot the points to graph the line. So our equation is 2x plus 5y equals 8. And we're told here x is 0, figure out what y is is 2, figure out what x is negative 6, figure out what y is. So let's begin with the x equals 0. So just like we did in the previous section, we want to go in and we want to plug 0 in for x. Okay, so that gives me 2 times 0 plus 5y equals 8. So the x term completely disappears. And so we just have 5y equals 8, which we can easily solve by dividing both sides by 5. And so when we do that, we get y is equal to 8 over 5. Y is equal to 8 over 5. And we can fill that in. As far as a graph, though, we'll probably want to think of that as 1 3/5 or 1.6 for the graph, so we have a better idea of where to graph it. And then we just continue on with our second point now. We're told y equals 2, so we plug 2 into the equation for y, and then we start to simplify and try to solve for y. So here we would do 5 times 2 is 10. So we have 2x plus 10 equals 8. And then we want to get x by itself. So we subtract the 10 from both sides. 8 minus 10 will leave us with a negative 2. And then we divide both sides by 2. And we get our answer, x equals negative 1. So now we have our second point. X is negative 1, y is 2. And then here we're given a third value that we need to fill out in our chart. So we go into that equation now and replace x with minus 6. So we'll have 2 times minus 6 plus 5y equals 8. 2 times minus 6 will be negative 12. Negative 12 plus 5y equals 8. And so now we need to solve this equation for y. So we want to get y by itself. So we bring the 12 over. Since it's negative, we add that to both sides. And then 8 plus 12 would give us 5y equals 20. And then finally we finish it off by dividing both sides by 5, and that happens to go nice and evenly this time. We get y equals 4. Okay. We then go ahead and put that answer into our chart. At this point now we have our chart completed, and so what remains now is to graph it. So at this point we're going to go in and we're going to plot our points. Our first point is 0 for x, 1 3/5 for y. So we don't go over it all for the x. We go up to 1 3/5. We go up to 1 3/5. And so that's roughly partway between 1 and 2. Then we have the second point, negative 1, 2. So negative 1 is going to be to the left 1. So we're going to the left 1 and then up 2. And so we make that adjustment to get our second point, negative 1, 2. And the last one's negative 6, 4. So we're going to go left 6, up 4. And then land at our point. And so at this point we've plotted all 3 points on the graph. Now if you're doing this graphing on the homework, then you need to refer to graphing equations in MyMathLab. There is a video link up that explains how to graph using the graphing interface. And for that you'd actually only be able to do 2 points. The graphing tool only uses 2 points, but you'll see that when you check that video out. But here we're graphing by hand, so we're not limited. So we can go ahead at this point now and draw the line. that passes through my 3 points. And depending on, here I'm using a little bit of graph paper. Depending on what, how well you did this by hand, your points may be off a little bit depending on how you labeled and measured stuff. But that's generally the idea of how to graph.